I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes about some tips and tricks that you might want to use as marketers to be more personalized, to be more relevant in how you communicate with your customers. And then Jan's going to take over.
I'm going to show you how the IBM Marketing Cloud really looks in combination with Magnolia.
So, as marketers, we're aware that the environment is changing and customers are now much more in control of the relationship that we have with them. Anyone who's selling online knows that in reality, customers are engaging with us 24/7. And so much of that interaction that they're having is when we may not even be in the office. We know that customers are doing much more before they even talk to a brand or a buyer. And in fact, up to 80% of that journey and that decision-making process can happen even before you've had a chance to talk to your customer. Customers are also using digital channels more. They're doing a lot more upfront research, but they're also using those channels to purchase. They want immediacy. We all want immediacy. We want those products, whatever it is we want right now. So whether it is, you're at the bus stop or you're at the train station and you used to use those few wasted minutes to purchase that item you've been looking for, whatever it is, we can now do a lot more of that buying, a lot more of that research on the go. Additionally, mobile engagement is up, as well as social engagement. We rely a lot now on social information to give us feedback on things that are important to us. So that might be checking out a hotel on TripAdvisor. Anyone do that? Or maybe using OpenTable to find out about a new restaurant in our town and book into that restaurant. We're also very happy to share our opinions, whether positive or negative, through these social channels. Customers are more engaged with products to do brand research and are using digital channels much more than ever. But the mature channels aren't going away, and email, that we all know and love, is still the preferred channel and it continues to be the most cost-effective channel for marketers and that consumers are utilizing. So we know that customers are engaging with us in literally dozens of different ways before or after conversion. And it's up to us as marketers today to make sure we know our customers, understand these interactions that they're having with us relative to the experience that you're trying to give them. Even if they're wandering into a physical store, the chances are they've probably been on your website beforehand or browsed something on a mobile device before they've actually been into your store. And we also know that 56% of customer experiences happen in a multi-channel event. So what does that mean? Well, that means that our customers are literally interacting with us multiple times before they actually make that purchase. They might be using a number of different channels to complete those interactions. So that could be looking up product information because you've received an email recently about an offer, and then following up in store so you actually go and see and physically touch that product before maybe calling into the call center to ask some information about it that you couldn't find online, and then finally placing that order maybe back on your browser. We need to understand that each of these interactions are actually a step in a journey, and we need to support that customer through that overall journey. So to add to all that complexity, we also know that consumers have more than 4 devices. So who out here's got 2 phones and a laptop? Keep your hands up. And a tablet? More than that? Yeah, so a lot of you out there have more than 4 or 5 devices. So it's not just about the different channels and timings we're trying to navigate, but we're also trying to recognize that the same customer may be returning through a different device, and we need to bring all that data together to really understand the overall picture. As consumers in the digital era, we're now sharing much more information about ourselves than we ever did before, and we expect that information to be used effectively. Today's consumer has high expectations, and we as marketers need to address that. They expect journeys across different channels and devices to be seamless and integrated. And they expect that if they share information with us, we need to use that information effectively to better understand them and recognize their wants and needs, and provide them with relevant and timely personalized information through whichever channel they choose to interact. Now, 81% of brands out there believe they're already doing that. They feel they understand their customers and know their requirements really well. Unfortunately, what we see is that actually only 37% of consumers out there feel that their favorite brand understands them. And that's not just all brands, that's their favorite brands. The majority of the time, therefore, we feel as consumers that despite the data we've shared, it's not being understood and it's not being utilized effectively to support that overall journey. So why is this? Well, it's not that we as marketers are actually doing a bad job here, but there are a number of things that are standing in the way and making it challenging for us to deliver that really personalized experience. It might well be that the data is not all in one place, so it's hard to get to, and it's not perhaps all owned by marketing. So building a single view of a customer can be really hard to pull all that data together from maybe your website, your social activity, your mobile app, etc. And without that single view of a customer, it becomes really challenging to support providing relevant and consistent messages to those customers through the channels they want to interact with. And as channels continue to grow and evolve, this will continue to be more and more difficult. Ultimately, what this means is that it's harder to attract customers. It's more difficult to grow the relationships you have with your existing customers and to increase customer retention, average order value, lifetime value, and ultimately really build brand loyalty and engagement. So, what can you do about this? Well, we've put together 3 steps to help you with creating more highly personalized brand experiences, and I'm going to take you through those steps over the next couple of minutes. Step 1, focus on the customer journey and not just specific campaigns. What do I mean by that? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the buyer journey is not linear. 56% of those journeys happen in a multi-step, multi-channel experience. The outcome of these journeys is really important, but we also need to take a step back and think about how we get to that outcome. If you haven't already done some work to map out your customer journeys, and this is a really good time to think about that, and to start understanding how they're flowing through all your different channels to your endpoint. A journey map can really help you to provide a detailed view of the flow of your customer experiences for your brand. So your customers may be interacting with you in a whole range of different ways. They might be receiving offers via SMS, looking up information on your mobile site, reading a blog post, or viewing products in store, maybe reviewing feedback on a community site. The options out there are really wide, but really connecting these together and understanding that journey will help you to really understand how best to service your customers. So by mapping out your journey, you're going to get a better experience of your customer. You're going to identify how you might want to modify or enhance that experience. You might get a better perspective of how your channels are used and how information is accessed, and also how consistent it all is. Perhaps you understand where your experience could be better or where it's not really living up to the standard you want your brand to be known for. You might also help to identify gaps and assess what you want to make as changes to those gaps to address them in the future. So, using a tool to map out that journey can help you to really view those different steps and flows and get that more holistic perspective of your customer. You can also help to understand how your customers are using your online and offline channels, as well as uncover maybe some issues that are happening that are directing your customers down a path maybe you want to avoid. Perhaps you've got some badly placed information on your website, and as a result, it's driving more customers to a channel that you don't actually want them to be going through, so maybe it's pushing more traffic to your call center. By understanding the journey map, understanding those flows, you can then address whether you need to make those changes to your website to help drive traffic in the direction you're more interested in. Ultimately, the real aim of all this and the real aim of the journey maps and the understanding here is looking at accelerating your path to purchase and helping your customers to really have a more positive relationship with you. So once you've looked at your journey mapping, it'll also help you to define or maybe redefine your customer personas and understand the factors that are getting them to engage with you in more detail so that you can then develop journeys that suit each of your different persona types. When you're defining personas, there's a number of different things you might want to consider. So you might want to think about what decision-making process is used in order to make a purchase. What criteria is relevant in deciding whether to buy from you or one of your competitors? And how does the information differ based on the different types of buyers you're wanting to engage with? You also need to balance out the emotional factors with the practicalities and understand if there are any barriers preventing your customers from making that purchase. When you understand your personas better, you can help better support relevant journeys that suit each of those personas and take into account the channels they prefer to interact with to help them get to that endpoint more successfully. Okay, so that's the first step. Let's move on to the second step, which is about engagement marketing. When you consider what you've learned from the first step and mapping out those journeys, you can begin to apply that to your marketing efforts. And this is what we call engagement marketing. Engagement is about the holistic experience of how your customers interact with you. Buying is a single engagement. And if you only interact with your customers when they're buying, there's a good chance that your competitors are interacting with them somewhere in between. So think about the journey in terms of engagement and how am I building an overall relationship with my customer or my potential customer. Almost all brands are utilising many different marketing channels, and brands would do well to differentiate themselves by optimising a particular strategy, one that really helps them to stand out. So that's not saying don't do all different forms of marketing. They may all be part of your journey and part of the experience you want to deliver to your customers, but think about the ones that really work best for your brand. As we all know, there's a lot of competition out there in the market, and it's very easy to be drowned out by the noise. But there are probably some things that you do really well as a brand. Perhaps you have a really fun and intuitive website, or maybe your in-store experience is second to none. So rather than trying to replicate what your competitors are doing, think about how you can amplify the things that you really want to be known for. Focus on what you're good at, what you want to be liked for, and build your engagement strategy around that. So here's an example around mobile apps. So as we know, apps are used for a range of different things. Who has an app that their brand utilizes? No apps? Oh, one, okay. But apps are used for a range of different things. But do we really know what our customers are using our apps for and what's most valuable about your apps? Also, how does your app fit into your overall strategy? And have you thought about how it can help facilitate your overall engagement strategy? So, is your app a great place to engage with your customers and drive them back in store? Maybe it's a place to place offers or coupons that can drive them back to further purchases. Or perhaps they can purchase directly in the app, and you can use the app to drive people responding to offers and email campaigns back to make that purchase in the app. What's critical here is really ensuring that your app strategy supports and facilitates your overall engagement strategy, and it's not simply there because all your competitors are doing it. You've got to think about the benefits and the value to your customer. So, some do's and don'ts. We know a large proportion of apps out there are downloaded once, viewed, and then deleted or never looked at again. So why is that? I mean, it's really about thinking about the purpose and value you're trying to create with using your app. I mean, did you build it because your competitors have one? And is there any difference between your app and your mobile website? So really think about the value of your app. Maybe your app can use location tracking, and therefore it can send messages to your customers when someone's near your store. Or does it have a mechanism to entice customers back in? Things like, can you track your loyalty points there? Can you get access to new releases or new information quicker through the app? Or maybe there's some exclusive offers. So let's look at a few customer examples of how people are using apps to better engage with their audiences. So this first app, I love this. And I would love for someone to build this app for me on my tube journey home from the office in London. And the reason I like this is it's all about standing out and being different. So this example comes from a Korean grocery store. And I can talk you through how this works. So basically, the Korean store have created a virtual store at the tube platform. Buyers go online, they use the app to click and purchase the items that they need from the store. Within the app, they can then complete that purchase. And then when they arrive at their home tube station, at their home store, their shopping is there ready for them, and they can head straight home. Now, personally, I love this. I just think it's brilliant because it's interactive, it's simple, and it's all thinking about making that journey simpler for the customer. It's also got some nice personality. It's very different to what the other brands will be offering out there. The next example I have here is Sephora. And this is about connecting online and offline channels effectively. So I know a lot of you in the audience are male, so maybe this won't resonate with you so well, but if you buy makeup, and no one's judging you if you do, from the larger brands out there, you'll know, as we ladies do, that if you try and head to one of those brands on Saturday morning, it's an absolute nightmare. They are really, really busy. There's people queuing all over the place for appointments with the consultants, and no one has time to talk to you. So the app from Sephora addresses that by enabling you to book appointments in advance, and then it connects the app to the physical store to help track the customer and their behaviours. Additionally, because their channels are all connected and they know what and when you've purchased, they can use all that information and their knowledge of expiry dates and product usage to push messages to you to order more and to remind you to come back in store and update your products. My last example is about building community. And I really like this because it's a great example of how you can differentiate your brand even when your product isn't all that individual. So this one is about flour, which isn't that exciting. I mean, you have white, you have self-raising, you have wholemeal, but unless you're a real connoisseur cook out there, you probably can't tell the difference between the basic stuff and the premium stuff. Well, at least I can't anyway. So what King Arthur has done here is created a community for their customers, which is really helpful and informative, but ultimately keeps the brand name at top of mind for their customers. The community is great because you can share ideas, pick up recipes, post comments on how your cooking experiments have gone. They also engage locally by providing local education events for both adults and children, so you can go in and do a baking class in your hometown. So even if you bake only twice a year, the community will always be there to keep engaged with you so you can find that next recipe. And ideally then when you next go into the supermarket, when you go to pick up that bag of flour, there's only one brand you're going to be thinking about. Okay, let's move on to the final step, which is really about marketing orchestration. So just to remind you, as we mentioned at the beginning, over 50% of customer interactions happen in a multi-channel, multi-event journey. So what we see is that when those journeys are orchestrated rather than single, uncoordinated communications, there's a much stronger correlation to customer satisfaction. Marketing orchestration is the execution of marketing across channels and across device. What's the difference between orchestration and omnichannel is that orchestration is about the execution, not just about the data. It's the right time, right device portion of the personalization method that you're using. And in other words, your channels should work together in a finely tuned way. So this is very much about gaining a view of your customer as a single identity and using that insight to drive a consistent and relevant experience. So for example, you might send an email to a customer and they open it, but they don't click on a link. So the following day or a couple of days later, you send them an SMS. This time they do click on the link, they engage with your website, and they put a product in their basket, but they fail to check out. So a couple of days later, you send them a push notification via your mobile app to remind them about the abandoned cart and enable them to check out via the app. You also segment them for placement of a relevant ad in Facebook. That's marketing orchestration. So to find out more about marketing orchestration and to assess your own marketing programs, we've got huge amounts of information on our website. So do check these out or download one of the white papers if you think it might be helpful to you. So that concludes our 3 steps to a highly personalized brand experience. It's all about focusing on the customer journey and not single campaigns, thinking about your engagement marketing strategy, how your channels are connected and what you want to be known for or famous for, and then coordinating and connecting all these steps in the journey so it's seamless for your customer. Now, IBM Marketing Cloud can help support you in all of these steps and really help you achieve that highly personalized brand experience. So if you'd like to learn more, please stop by and have a chat with myself or one of my colleagues who are here this week. I'm going to return now to Jan, who's going to provide you with a bit more information about how IBM Marketing Cloud is working in collaboration with Magnolia.
Now let's have a look on how this marketing automation orchestration actually really works with Magnolia in conjunction. First of all, marketing automation across different channels starts with the user ID. Why is that? Because the user ID is the absolute foundation to connect all the different devices and all the interactions between your emails, your website, your tablet, and so on. So we really need this ID for personalization and for analysis to really see what's going on. And because it is such an important step, let's see how this is done with Magnolia. This here is the standard travel page that you already know. However, what is new is here on the very upper right, the subscribe option. That comes right with the connector. So I click on it. And right now I have here the option to do opt-in or double opt-in. That means I can come up here with my email, with some interests, with my name, and with the birth date. Why the birth date? The demographic really matters. More about that in a few minutes. So submit. And right now I have already a cookie attached to my session, so the user journey tracking starts right now. And this user information is not just in Magnolia, it's in Silverpop. Let me show you how that works. So here's a travel page, and here you see those new templates, the Silverpop templates, and the subscribe option here. Let's open them up. And if we click on this component, then you see that is an external form. This data here is coming straight from Silverpop from a distinct marketing database. So this is not managed in Magnolia at all. Why is that important? Because as we have learned, there are so many different channels. If you would just come up with different sign-up options for all those different channels, it would be quite easy to get all this data totally out of sync. So what you do with Silverpop is you just manage all the sign-up procedures in a centralized way, so you're really sure that you can do holistic analysis, which is otherwise not possible. What we see here are just 3 marketing databases, so for all your endeavors you can configure various databases to make sure that you have a real good efficient tracking and analysis. So as said, those forms are managed in the Marketing Cloud itself. Maybe that sounds a little bit scary on how to interact between those different platforms. In fact, it's super easy. It's really as easy as it gets. For example, remember those interests that I could specify when I registered my account here? Just to get a new interest here, I'm just going to add a new value here. This time it's going to be the, let's say, the world traveler. I'm going to add this right now. I save this. I jump back to Magnolia. I do a single reload. Bam, there it is. It's really that simple. And now this option is available for all the different channels as well, not just for my web page. It's also available for my automated email marketing campaigns and for my mobile apps. So as said, I have a holistic database where all the user data is stored for all channels. And that means I can really tap into this data pool here and do this analytics. I can come up with mass mailings that are highly personalized and targeted. We have heard about this cart abandonment. All this stuff can be absolutely managed straight through the Silverpop database. The big question, of course, is how can I do personalization? Is it somehow difficult with neural networks and whatnot? Definitely not. The key here is scoring. What you can do with Silverpop is you can assign various scores for all the user interactions that your customers are having with your content. That might be just the frequency of opening a page, on downloading various PDFs, or just browsing a certain aspect of your page. And again, it's really super simple, super fast. I like this a lot. So to do this here, we just have this very nice wizard. That's a scoring wizard. For this talk, for example, I just created here this Apex scoring model. Let's click on it. So what that thingy here does is every time I'm going to visit a certain page here, and this time it's going to be an Asian page, I'm going to assign 80 points every time I visit it. And as you have seen, there are so much more options. For example, the frequency on how long do I stay on this page, and so on. And for all these different behavior patterns, you can just apply a score for this. Okay, so let's save this here. And as you can see, for example, this was just really a very simple page opener option. You can do this on a set on the recency. Okay, Jan has been on this travel page for like 1 month ago, so it just serves the right teasers to drive him back more often. So we can just come up with special scoring models for this different parts of the page. So just to recap this, frequency, content interactions can be configured just with a wizard without doing any technical implementation at all. All you really need is just this connector to Silverpop. And of course, you can do this on demographics. And I was just scratching here the iceberg because if you have those different scoring models for, let's say, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 users, then you can really start with big data analysis and find out which user journeys probably resonate best for which persona group. And as said, again, this personalization scoring is available for pages, mobile, and email. And now let's show me to you how that works with Magnolia in pages. Again, super simple, no implementation needed at all, just the connector. So this is a personalization for Magnolia, as you probably already know it. Let's click here on Choose Audience. And now you see here those tours, A Taste of Malaysia. This is the stuff that was just pre-specified when I did the registration. So again, no implementation on personalization. I just have this data here from the database. So really so simple. And as we can see here, a little bit down, the recipient score value. Here, just this apex scoring behavior rank and so on. This was automatically created when I just created this new apex scoring model with 3 clicks. Again, no interaction. This data is just right in this database. And every time someone is going to visit this special page, I'm going to add the score, and just in this case, if my scoring is higher than 180 points, I'm going to serve this special variant. Just with wizards, just with clicks, no implementation. And finally, mail management. Also here, this connection between Magnolia and Silverpop is really great. What you can do, you can just create special mailing templates in Magnolia. So this is most of the time simplified HTML that runs good on all clients. So what you can do here, you can preview this page, and then you can use this mail template and send it straight to Silverpop. So we're going to publish it here. You can even pre-configure the tracking level, the visibility on the databases, and so on. So here's the tracking level. I confirm it. And as we can see now, this mail template has been created. I click on it, and I'm instantly sent to the right Silverpop instance. What I can do now, I'm just going to select the contact sources. So it's just remember those marketing databases with all my clients in it. I select this one. I can do even personalization. Scoring again, I just select the right scoring to do personalized mailing, so just the right group of people is selected for my mass mailing here. I can do personalization tests by sending those emails to test accounts, so I'm really sure that I don't get any broken emails. I can do spam checks, so I really know that those emails are not failing on the standard spam checks. And here I get some warnings. In this case, I just get warnings because, oops, it was a little bit fast, because I just tried to send a full HTML page, which I'm normally never ever going to do. So again, here's just another health check, so you can be really sure that your mails actually reach your audience. And what's also important to know here is if your user is opening up that email or is clicking on that link, this is also going back into your scoring model. So you have really full tracking on the full customer user journey.